Hey y'all, I had a request for a bunion video. So I want to share my thoughts on how you can prevent and correct bunions, and then some exercises that you can do at home to strengthen your feet and mobilize your big toe. So I want to start by showing you my feet. Now I'm unusual feet. I'm able to spread my toes wide. And can you see how at the end of my foot, this is the widest part of my triangle? So a lot of us have feet that are shaped more like this. So take a second and just look at your feet. If you're going to shoes, take your shoes and socks off. And just notice, do you have the ability to do that, to make that shape with your foot? Can you spread your toes? That is a good start, just noticing the shape of your toes now. And if it seems like they're all kind of smushed together, one idea could be looking at your shoes. So if I'm wearing shoes that do that, that come to a point, and I'm talking like fashion pointy shoes, but also running shoes. So that's step one, check out your footwear. And if your shoes are mashing your toes together, consider not revamping your whole shoe catalog, but maybe the shoes that you spend the most time in. Could you look into Crocs, Merrell's, Limbs? I'm going to put a healthy shoe list in the description here in the box so you can check that out. And this is Dr. Ray. He's a local Portland podiatrist. He has a healthy shoe list too. And he talks about taking out the liner of the shoe. Most shoes, the liner comes out pretty easily. And so you would stand on it. That's a good way to tell. And if the liner is here and your foot is here, that's probably too narrow. The two box is too narrow. So a wide toe box, that's the first thing to look for. And the second thing is, are you comfortable barefoot? Can you pad around the house barefoot? Some people have tender feet. They're not used to being barefoot. So notice, could you spend a little bit of time, and maybe it's a few minutes a day, starting with just being barefoot. Maybe it's sitting at your desk and kicking your shoes off under the desk. So could you spend a little time barefoot? So again, I'm going to show you my weird feet and toes. I have a lot of mobility in my feet and toes. I do spend a lot of time barefoot. And with bunions, what happens is this toe, the big toe, typically the bunion is on this side. You can get a bunion over here. It's called a tailor's bunion. But typically what happens is this toe gets mushed in. Can you see how my toe knuckle is further that way? So this would be my toes spread out long. This is what happens over time with a bunion. And often it also comes with things like hammer toes or your toes. So let's warm up our feet. I'm going to give my foot a little massage. Oh, this is going to be nice. You could start by just rubbing the tops and bottoms of your feet. And you could work, since we're focusing on this big toe for today, you could flex and extend. You could do little circles. You could pull your toe apart. Yeah, so I'm just going all different directions with my big toe. And then you could start to work up this top lane here towards your ankle. And I'm just going to pull real gently with my thumb, maybe 5 of these little guys. So I'm just giving warming up this tissue, trying to, this is a variation on myofascial release. And I could do the same thing here on the bottom side. So I could pull some of this tissue up and up. So like I said, we're kind of focusing on our big toe today. We could do a whole hour of foot massage, but you know, we got bigger fish to fry. So stand up and do this with me. Just see what it feels like to spread your toes out. And to do that, you might have to physically take your fingers and separate each toe. So over time, if you practiced this kind of thing, just spreading your toes out, you would get to where the muscles in your feet and toes, you'd be able to do that without pulling them apart with each finger. So just take a little assessment right now of your foot, especially your big toe, since we're talking about bunions today. And then if you're not able to do that comfortably, could you start playing with this idea? Let me show you with my hand because it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing with my toe, of sliding your big toe out away from your other toes. So I'll try that a few times, sliding my big toe along the floor and then scrunching my toes back together. So do 5 of those with me. Slide your toe out, scrunch them back together. And I think it's easier to do 1 foot at a time. Slide it out. And then so I'm just basically spreading my toes. Yeah, what was that 5? Sometimes it helps to stick out your tongue while you're doing this. I'm kidding. No, it doesn't. Let's try side number 2. Spread your toes, especially that big toe. Try to move your big toe out to the side and then pull them back towards each other. And then spread your toes and then pull them back in and spread your toes. So I can tell this is my weaker side and I'm moving my other toes, but that big toe doesn't want to move. I have to really think about moving my big toe to the side. It's easier for me to plant my big toe and slide the other ones out. So however this makes sense to your brain, but can you get separation between your big toe and your other toes? And then the other way to do that separation is what I call the Rizzo. Y'all remember Rizzo putting out her cigarette? Yeah. So you could come up on your ball of your foot, lift your heel, and kind of wiggle your toes around on the floor. Get them into that spread out position, then plant your heel. So I'll show again on the other side. I got my heel up, I'm wiggling my toes to spread them open, and then I plant my heel. Yeah, and then I could give a whole series on foot positioning. This, I am actually in a parallel position right now. So when I mean parallel, I mean my toes point straight ahead. It looks kind of pigeon-toey because most of us tend to be a little bit here, right? So then when we start to walk, what you're doing is actually rolling over your foot this way rather than rolling over your foot this way. So this big toe plays a huge part in a healthy gait. So often with bunion surgeries, there's a couple things that can happen. They'll either shave off this bone because it looks like that bone has gotten too big when really the problem is this toe has gotten smushed over. The other thing that happens a lot is they'll put a rod in your big toe. So that straightens it out. Now your toe is pointing in the right direction, but now you've lost this mobility. So when you go to walk, you don't have that ability to flex your toe like so. Okay, so that's your big toe dissertation. So we already worked on spreading your toes. That's part 1. And then this short foot exercise is one I give my clients a lot. It's hard to tell what I'm doing at this angle, but I'm spreading my toes again. And then I'm going to think of shortening my foot from the ball of my foot to my heel. So if you could picture like a suction cup action. So I'm going to do it, but again, it doesn't look like much. There's my relaxed foot. Now I'm pulling up. Well, you can see my foot doing a little something, pulling up on my arches. And I'm going to stand too and show you this from standing. Regular relaxed foot. And then I lift my arches up and then relax. And this is that same thing from standing, weight bearing, relax your foot, lift your arch. You can see how my foot literally shortens. Relaxed foot, lift up on my arch. Now notice my little toesies. I'm going to do one more. Relaxed foot, lift my arch. I didn't do this. That's the bird on the twig. I kept my toes long and just pulled up on that little suction cup action of the bottom of my foot. So I'm going to use a stretchy band for this next part. And what I'm going to do is wrap it around my big toe. And then I can just anchor it with this side. So I've gently wrapped it around foot number 1, and I'm holding it down with this side. So this just helps me pull that toe towards that midline, towards my median, and then you can relax. So I'm working my foot muscles. This one's my stabilizer. This one's holding the band. And then I'm stretching my toes out and using the band to pry that foot open gently. Go real easy on this, especially if this is new stuff that you haven't done before. Do like 5 of these and then stop and take a rest. So I'm trying to use the band to help me pull this big toe this direction. And I can feel muscles in the side of my foot. I can feel my whole foot and ankle working to do that. And then I'm going to use a yoga block for this next one, but you could also use a book if you had a thick book. So now I'm going to take my big toes and mash them in towards the block and then relax my feet. And then I mash my big toes in towards the block and relax. Mash them in. Again, I'm just going to do 5 of these. So again, I'm going that same angle of trying to mash my big toes in towards the midline. And you can see my legs are doing stuff. My whole foot is working. Okay, that was 5 of those. Take a little rest break. Okay, we did some release work. We did that toe spreader, some organization, short foot. We did a couple of exercises to get your big toes to move in this direction. This is a stretch. So if you're comfortable elevating the front of your foot a little bit, you could bring the ball of your foot onto a small rolled up towel. And then I'm going to face my whole body this direction and start to step what was my back foot forward. So I'm making a tiny little lunge, and you can see how my toes and the ball of my foot are a little bit elevated compared to my heel. So that might be plenty for today. And then I'll show a similar stretch, this one without the towel. I'm planting my foot. I'm going to step forward, and I might be able to start to press up, keeping my toes stretched. So just see what that feels like to work back and forth, almost like you're pressing up into a high-heeled shoe. And then the other stretch I like to do is turning my foot over. So I'll show this from 2 views. Again, I've just turned my foot now so that my toenails are on the mat, and go real easy with this one if this is something you've never done. I'm showing you this view to show you how I'm not sickling. Sickling is this. Now my toe gets to escape. If I keep my leg straight on, I'm really stretching the top of my foot, and I'll show from the side. So I just flipped my foot over, and I'm trying to get that stretch across the top of my foot. So what are some things you could do today to have happier feet if you do suffer from bunions? Look at your shoes. Notice if they have a wide toe box, and then experiment with that. Go buy some ugly shoes, some Crocs, some Merrell, some limbs. And then can you spend a couple minutes a day barefoot, even if it's just sitting at your desk? Bonus points if you can walk around the house barefoot, fold some laundry, maybe while you're cooking dinner. Of course, if this hurts your feet, any of these things I'm telling you, do not do things that cause pain. If you are in an acute state, you need professional medical help. This is more for, I'm starting to get a bunion and I want to improve the range of motion and the strength in my toe and foot. We did some strength exercises. We did spreading your toes, working your big toes towards the midline, and then a stretch for the bottom of your foot, stretch for the top of your foot. Okay, play around with these and let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me an email, put some comments below on how this worked for you.